I had to overcome abuse, very severe abuse from a satanic cult, sex trafficking, torture, the whole thing. So, coming from that background, the way it suppressed who I was and how I dealt with the world in kind of a victim mindset and had to change that. The abuse was so severe that it caused amnesia. So, I didn't even know I'd been abused as a child.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. This is another in the Step Into Your Brilliant Purpose. I just got these yesterday. This is so much fun. And I have Dawn Bradford with me. And every time Dawn came on to any one of our meetings, she would just command the room and would just shift where we were going. And always with such purpose. We always knew when Dawn showed up because she's magnificent. So, Dawn, I am so excited to have you on the show, okay? And we're going to go into how to embrace mental trauma and live fully. So your chapter, the book, where your stand in this world. Tell us about your chapter, the name of your chapter, and why did you decide to write it?
So the name of my chapter is Choose to Fully Live. And that really encompasses where I'm at in my life and the journey that I've been on. I had to overcome abuse, very severe abuse from a satanic cult, sex trafficking, torture, the whole thing. So coming from that background and the way it suppressed who I was and how I dealt with the world in kind of a victim mindset and had to change that. The abuse was so severe that it caused amnesia. So I didn't even know I'd been abused as a child. And I didn't understand why I could not move forward in my life until I broke through the amnesia and understood what was going on, and then pulled all of those things. They had to come up, but then I could pull them out of my space and heal completely. And I feel like it's important for others to understand that no matter what they've experienced, whether it is health problems, mental health problems, because I've dealt with all of those, that we can heal. There's hope for healing, and that we can move forward in that and have a life that is full of joy. And that's really my message. That's why I wrote the chapter, and that's why I'm here.
I love to live fully because you embody that when you just show up. That's your essence that you give off. And the stance that you take is not one that's openly often talked about in our society, and yet the amount of women, children, even men with war, with economic dishevelment that we're going on here, with just even normal abuse and sexual abuse and children trafficking. And this is going on a daily. So your courage to stand in your story to bring others forward is incredible.
Thank you.
So, okay. So now let's get into that. That again, the world is and the stats are that whenever there's crisis, women are by far more marginalized and more impacted by that, right? So what you went through and your strength and courage to come through to live fully is such an important message for so many people that it's really more of a not just a few. This is as much as I hate to say it, more of a norm that we're living with now. And stand in and then again, because you're such an amazing, strong, courageous, and powerful woman. And within that, what do you get to say to others who have been abused, have been traumatized, have been caught in war and are in war and all of that?
I do talk to a lot of people that have dealt with horrific things. And it doesn't matter if the abuse was small or large, if the trauma was small or large, because what I have come to understand is that we all hold deep hurt. Everyone has some type of deep hurt, and it's all the same. And we all have some type of trauma. And there are those who move through life feeling like the world owes them something. They need that sympathy, that pity. They need to be taken care of because that's the only thing that they know. And they do need things. But what I've realized is as we give them that pity and that sympathy and take care of them, we're taking away their power. And I lived without my power for years. My husband took care of me. I dealt with anxiety and depression, and my life was small, and I really was unhappy. And there wasn't enough that anyone could give me to heal what was going on inside of me because I didn't really understand what I was dealing with. And I wasn't at the point in my life that I was ready to accept that I could change my life, that it wasn't any of the externals, it was me. And as I finally opened up that door and realized that I had the power to change things and that I needed to do this work, my life has transformed. It is difficult. And I know that most people are really scared of that difficulty, but the reward is so incredibly great that it's important for people to understand that this is worth it. The life that you can have in standing in this responsibility, this healing, this power that we have. All those years I was giving my power to my abusers. And one day I said, I am not going to do that. They ruled what I liked, what I didn't like, what anxieties I had, how I was showing up for the world. And I decided that I was not going to allow that to happen anymore. And it was a really scary moment because I did not know who I was without who they had created me to be. I had no idea. It's really scary, but I realized I can be whoever I want to be. This is within my power and my control, and I had to take that power. And it's hard, but we have to allow others to do for themselves as much as they can so that they can own their own power. They can overcome this pain and this hurt and this trauma, no matter what they're dealing with.
So what you're saying is that people we all have some kind of trauma from life itself. And that the piece of staying and being a victim is absolutely giving all your power away and allowing to lean into that is not holding the individual high to what they get to be and who they get to be.
Yes. Yeah. The feeling is that because of what has happened, they've been thrown into a deep pit and that they're helpless. They're stuck in this deep, dark pit. And it wasn't their fault. And that's absolutely true. It wasn't their fault. But what I discovered is it's not a pit. It's actually a tunnel. And as we are blocked moving forward, that is the tunnel's way of telling us that we need to shift our direction. We're trying to get somebody to come in and rescue us out of that pit because we can't climb out. What we have to do is shift and turn, and that tunnel will guide us out. Anytime you come to a blockage, you have to stop and go, okay, what do I need to shift? How do I need to move? And keep moving forward. And as long as you can keep moving forward, even if you're just inching forward, eventually you get to that point that you see that light and you know what you're moving toward, and you get there and you come out in the light. And it's an absolutely magical, amazing moment when you understand what it is like to live in the present with joy and abundance and happiness. And it's not a place you arrive at, but it opens that up to you so that you can consistently try to pull those moments and experience them and live them, which for 20 years I lived without that, with none of those moments. So now it's not that every moment of my life is filled with amazing joy, but I get those moments almost every day and many times throughout the day. And I stop and I'm present with where I'm at and what's going on and the gratitude and joy that I have in my life. And then my way has opened up just tremendously. My opportunities, the people that I'm talking to, it's phenomenal, and it's worth every hard step it took to overcome and get here.
Well, let's step back a little bit, because you do get to walk the walk and you get to stand for others, which is what you do. That someone's listening to this and saying, you know what? No, and so many people are hurting right now. And
Yes.
I'm in the dark. I'm alone, and there's troubles going on in my life, and there's no way of not saying that. And then where the abuse may be coming from, they're listening to this. What would you say to them as that first even thought? Because it might not even be a step yet.
The first step or the first thought is just knowing it is possible for things to get better. That's where it starts. Our world is full of inventions that no one thought possible. Someone imagined it and created it. So the first step is you have to imagine and believe that something can be different and something can be better. And it can be hard. But if you can imagine it, then you can achieve it.
So it gets to be that the first thing is that they stand in possibility, that they stand in hope, and within that to shift.
Yes. I have been in an abusive relationship. I had to navigate how to get out of that safely. And to me, I did escape that relationship. I was far away from home. I got married right after I was 19. It was very abusive. I had to do a lot of steps, but it was the moment that I realized that I was better off alone than being with him. Even though I was like, oh, I don't know that I can find anyone better than him for me. But realizing I was better off alone, and that somehow, if I wanted to survive, I had to leave. I didn't know how I was going to survive away from him. But I knew he would destroy me if I stayed. And so I orchestrated steps. And I even, and I convinced him that I was a bad wife for him and that he deserved better. That was my path out, because that was an easy sell for him. And when I left, I felt like a failure, and I had to move back in with my parents. And I did not know what to do. I didn't know how to rebuild my life. And so, I started by getting a job. And each of those little steps, but it started with just going, I don't want to be destroyed in this relationship. And that's all I knew. I couldn't see where I was going. I couldn't see what the possibilities were at that point, but I began moving toward that.
So again, there are people like you out there standing as examples of where you get to go. As far as, because oftentimes this is so that we're talking about so many different resources, right? It could be economic, that they're trapped with that, as well as abuse, and could be drugs. It could be, whatever else is going on in here, that they really do feel completely alone and out of options. Working in this field, where do they get to? Because I'm always one that so believes in the power of community and getting to ask for support and allowing to be surrounded by people that help to bring you to support you to go forward. What does that look like? When someone say, I don't have anyone.
The interesting thing is, as you start to move forward, the universe will bring people into your path, because every community is different and the resources in communities are different. Excuse me. And the path forward is different for everyone. And that's why it's hard to give a blanket, this is what you can do. But if you start moving forward and you believe in this life you can have, and you just open your awareness, you start noticing people around you, and you will find that there are people that come across your path that will help lead you to where you need to be. I have seen that happen over and over and over again. And you just have to be watching for it. And I think that those things are there all the time. It's just when we start opening up our awareness and paying attention to those people around us and being open to receiving some guidance from those around us. It can come from anyone. I had someone who, it was a homeless person on the street while they were walking down the street to go to the airport. It's amazing how many people there are that are there to help us move forward if we're just aware and open to it.
Okay. And so there is that piece too of surrendering to the universe and allowing support to come to you when
Yes.
you're letting down your guard and being open to that.
Yes. And you have to do it cautiously and carefully, because you don't want to let your guard down completely and open up to a new abusive situation, right? So you have to be careful and cautious, but open and aware of people who are in the space that you want to be in and connecting with those.
So, through the our teachers of transformation, one of the things that came through was that we teach people how to treat us, right? So we can also shift that. And oftentimes when someone is abused, it becomes just the who they are and that habit of being in that cycle. What steps have you taken to recognize that now and say, no, that's not what I deserve, and recognizing abusive people?
It is something that has taken a lot of time and therapy and learning. I love to read, and so I would read books, any books I could get my hands on how to deal with my mental health issues, how to deal with abuse and trauma, how to transform. And I have been in therapy for years. As I move beyond one therapist, because I learn everything that they have to teach me, and I've grown beyond that and had to find another therapist. And so, and anything that comes to me, I have used all kinds of techniques. I'm open to whatever will help me grow and heal, and whatever things I can learn from other people, and being open to that. It's taken me time to get here and to get to the point that I understand what boundaries are. Didn't have that before, did not understand boundaries at all. My abusers trained me to have inappropriate boundaries. And when I first heard boundaries, I had no idea what that meant. I had to get a book and go, okay, what are they talking about when they say boundaries? And so I tried to learn what other people were talking about and listen. And it didn't matter if it was YouTube videos or books or podcasts or whatever. I would go to whatever was available, and I would search things on the internet and try to find out what came up, learn whatever I could, because there are so many paths. There's so much out there that exactly what you need in your journey is out there, and you will find it. It might take you a little bit, but you'll find it. And each of those things are these little seeds that get planted and eventually grow and change this garden of who you are as a person through all of these paths. And the only restrictor is if you stop. If you keep going, you will gain everything that you need. The only time we fail is when we stop and give up. But if you keep moving forward, you will get to wherever you want to be.
Speaking of that note, so since your chapter, yours is one of the first parts of the book. I'm gonna look that quickly. Here is 43. Hold on a second. That I just want to give everyone the title of the book, and it turned right to it, of course. And I want the picture. Cheers to Fully Live. I mean, what a great title. Here is that. What has happened in your journey since writing the chapter? And everybody get the book. Dawn's in here. We're all in here, and it is a book that helps to bring others forward as we continue standing in our stories and our journey. But since the book, which was again another place of making connection and community, right? Because we're here now and how fabulous. What's coming forward? What are you working on? And how can people get in touch with you?
So my website, I just finished revamping. I've been trying to get many of the interviews and podcasts that I've been doing since the book came out onto my website. And it's at dawnbradford.com. I do have a private Facebook group for those who've been abused as a safe place where they can interact.
So this is a really great group. If you're going to tell anyone, start with community.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the group is, we'll have the link, but tell everyone how do they find the group on Facebook?
So you can become friends with me through Dawn Bradford. And then I can't remember the name of the group right now. New Hope for Healing. It's New Hope for Healing.
New Hope for Healing.
New Hope for Healing.
How beautiful is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you reach out to me, friend me on Facebook, I can give you that information. You can,
and it's a safe
email
space,
me on my website.
Right? It's a safe space, because that's another thing too. So a New Hope for Healing. Get in touch with Dawn, and since the book, so many of our authors are moving towards their own book. What's the next piece for you?
So I've already written my memoir called Broken No More, a true story of abuse, amnesia, and finding God's love. That one's already out. And now I am working on a book called The Village in My Head. I have dissociative identity disorder, and that is how to be successful and function in life with dissociative identity disorder. So that's the book that I'm working on right now.
So excited about the new book, because it's fascinating. And again, talk about standing in your courage. So what is the new title for the new book?
It's called The Village in My Head, How to Succeed with Dissociative Identity Disorder.
What a great title. So with that, then, so have you ever done stats of actually percentage of people that have
dissociative identity disorder?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to tell. A lot of people are hiding it as much as possible because there's so much stigma around it. They know that at least 1% of the population has it, which would be, I think, 4 million people.
And that's on the far more low side. That's like actually, so within that, again, I just love this, because you stand as a beacon of strength and courage to allow others to come forward, because we are failing at discussing trauma and mental trauma and what that looks like in our families and our friends and for ourselves. And then what are we missing? What are we missing when we don't get to allow each other to heal and be there and then create solutions as opposed to hiding?
And as we acknowledge these things and talk about them, then we can be successful. Most people that have severe social or severe dissociative identity disorder like I do, they feel like they can't work, they can't have relationships, they can't succeed because they're fighting all of the other personalities or alters that are within them rather than working with them and accepting them. But if the condition is seen as these are dangerous, crazy people, and we're suppressing that, then they're also suppressing the help that they can receive and the power they can receive within the condition that they have.
And just a little bit to unpack this is that the why this happens, explain to people how someone can wind up developing.
So it is caused by trauma. The more severe the trauma, the more alters or personalities are created. Those who've experienced ritualistic abuse become polyfragmented, which means that they have over 100 alters or personalities that have been split off as a result of that trauma. The brain cannot cope with what is happening, and so the brain takes those memories and splits them into smaller parts, and there are different personalities that will hold on to those that can handle that and keep it from you. So it's basically your brain keeping secrets from yourself and holding those so that you are not so overwhelmed that you cannot survive. It's a survival mechanism.
So it's a survival that the trauma was so severe that this is the only way the brain is protecting you.
Yes. Yeah.
And so we PTSD is something that is now thrown out there, so to cover that. But that just means that's how much pain, trauma, and abuse our society is suffering now within that. I'd love to see the correlation of what that looks like and that 1% or whatever that I will do. And when we stand in allowing to have conversation of many strong courage, people to come forward and say, where it's just part of the journey, then we start to heal.
Yes. And part of that healing journey is dealing with those little bits of memories. And as I can deal with those memories, they're integrated into who I am so that I am not so fragmented and I have a more complete memory and I'm a more complete person than I was before. But you have to accept your diagnosis, accept these alters, learn to love and accept them and deal with what they've experienced, because it's all things that you have experienced and ways you're reacting to it as well. And that's where healing really comes, is that acceptance of self.
So I know when working through transformation, right, you go through pain and then allow forgiveness for oneself and others as that journey. What you're saying, Ben, is the step before that is to actually claim that memory that your mind has fragmented to protect you. So it's just an additional step, but it's the same process.
Yes, absolutely.
Fascinating. And I really, I adore you because you're just so fabulous and strong, but you're standing for others in who and what you stand for, and you work and it's just so important. And again, you are a realm of healing for others, and I adore you for that. I just want you to receive that and say that with gratitude. Your work is so important.
Thank you. And that's why I do this, because there are so many who are hurting, and you can tell because of the anger and divisiveness in the world. That is a result of the pain that people are living with. There are so many, and we can heal. And I just have to share that message that it is possible to live this beautiful life no matter what has happened. That is so important to me. And when I life coach abuse victims, I don't charge them anything, because this is part of this community that I have a responsibility, having gone through this healing journey, to help others go through their own journeys and to show this light to them that this is possible. And that's what I'm all about.
Again, I love who and what you do. Everyone, dawnbradford.com, Dawn Bradford, Facebook, friend her, get into the group, start standing with others and surround yourself with others as you too can start to heal. Thank you, my friend. Always. Oh, I can't wait for the new book, Village in My Head. I love it, love it, love it. Again, thank you for all that you do.
Thank you. And thank you for having me on so I can share my message.
You'll be on again, so just bye, everybody.